I'm Russ Rapp, and this is a live talk on non duality. That's what my YouTube channel is all about. So if you have not subscribed at this point in time, you can check out all my other videos. And if you do subscribe, you'll be able to at least get some idea when I do these live talks, since occasionally they're random, they're never really a set time. And if I can get up to, I think, 1,000 subscribers, I'm at around 600 right now, then I can do some of these live talks at other locations on my phone versus on this laptop. So then they'll give me a little bit more flexibility to um, be able to do these instead of sitting on the floor in the corner. If you're new to my channel and this is your first video that you're watching of mine, um, you may be wondering why I subscribe in the first place, because I never gave you the reason, the purpose to subscribe. So I guess maybe you'll figure that out as we go. I guess the main thing is, I think YouTube, typically the algorithm likes to promote videos that are produced versus these live chats. And so I think I get less traction with these talks, but this is what I enjoy doing at this point. And so my intention of growing my channel is all well and good, but at the same time, there are ways to go about trying to maximize the viewership, and I'm not doing those things. So it's the catch 22 a little bit. So like I said, if you subscribe, that'd be great. If you don't subscribe, that's also fine. And today's talk, we're talking about non-duality. I didn't come prepared with anything preloaded into the word bank, if you will. I just decided I'm going to do a talk at this moment, and so if you're joining, thanks for coming on board. Non-duality is a scam is with us in the chat. If you have questions or comments, feel free to throw those in the chat, and I like to address them. I think in this talk, I'm going to rely on your input to give me some motivation to talk about the subject of non-duality, since it's a subject that needs no explanation or discussion. But non-duality is a scam says, "Good morning, Russ. Looking forward to the weekend after spending all week being weakened. Lies and propaganda will always receive the greatest promotion. That's why I'm here." Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, YouTube and their algorithm. Exactly. So, there's certain things that we could talk about, since non-duality relates to nothing and everything. However, I think if we discuss those topics, then I really wouldn't get any subscribers, because I would be shadow banned or downplayed in the algorithm, or banned altogether. So it's a freedom of speech. So maybe I should make this the most underwhelming live talk that I've ever done. Which goes against my initial appeal of trying to get subscribers. Non-duality is a scam says, "Yeah, truth seekers be like walking on eggshells, laugh out loud." Yeah, it's interesting times that we live in today. I think there's a whole undercurrent going on that a lot of people in the general populace probably aren't even aware of, because if a tree falls in the forest and the mainstream media isn't there to tell you about it, then a lot of people think it doesn't exist. Oh yeah, so we're talking about non-duality though. Non-duality, the slap in the face version of the meaning is that it means not to, because you look at the word non means not and dual means two, so not to. So essentially, it's the illusion of separation. Similar idea to oneness, but it comes from the opposite perspective to point out the fact that you automatically believe and see in duality. And so, therefore, you as a separate individual cannot really fully understand what we're saying other than just conceptually or as an experience of non duality. There are moments when the individual, the personality seems to fall away, the ego goes bye, and there are moments where you are in tune with what is. And in those moments, you may have a experiential um, version of non-duality, but in a sense, that's just another way of understanding it as a human being. But it's not something that you can really grasp hold of and use as a thing of personal growth. All right, darkness demands. Hey Russ, I'm new here. I watched some of Rupert Spear's videos and found you. Thoughts on him? Well, great, thanks. I'm glad Rupert Spear has sent some people my way, or YouTube in response to that. Yeah, so I guess I'm vaguely familiar with Rupert Spira. I've watched some of his videos in the past, and I think there's some good stuff that he comes out with. And I think, if you're in the mood to, um, kind of meditate and relax and um, have this deep sense of calm come over you, wash over you with his eloquent verbiage. I think it's a very positive, relaxing type of approach that he takes, and yeah, I think that's it's great. I think if you see Rupert and think this is what non-duality has to look like or what it is, then I think you're missing the point. The pointless point, I guess. But um, that's what happens when we view speakers talking about this subject. We oftentimes think it has to be a certain way or look a certain way, and that's where I think, you know, if I don't, I guess I don't see non-duality ever becoming fully mainstream, like The Secret or um, like manifesting and stuff like that, because manifesting is all about getting something you want or, that sort of thing. So non-duality gives you really nothing. Um, but it could just be another hashtag onto everything else to give you some sort of perceived spiritual credibility. So if you're talking about any subject, whether it's meditation or um, non-duality or meditation or the Enneagram or other spiritual practices, and then you use the hashtag non-duality included, then it's like, hey, this is non-dual. But the tag itself has no meaning because everything is non-dual and nothing is. It's not something that all of a sudden you were introduced to the topic and now you are somehow different in the core sense of your being. That somehow, now that you've hashtag non-duality with everything you do, that you are now complete and see through the illusion or whatever. It's non-duality is, I think I've heard like Lisa Carnes say, it's descriptive versus prescriptive. So it's not telling you what to do or how to live or how to be. It's more just describing the nature of reality. And so that's essentially just the basic uh hey, it's an observation, like, hey, the sky is blue. It's like, okay, great. Well, we perceive the blue, and then we can dig into, well, what is the meaning of wavelengths and light forms, and why is the sky look a certain color? But if we have different people looking at the same sky, are they seeing in different colors? If one is colorblind, or if, what about a blind person? We can sit and analyze it all day from a mental standpoint, but ultimately, non-duality is as obvious and boring as saying the sky is blue. Let's see. Non-duality is a scam says it's important to realize how much Rupert Spira actually points from the concept of. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read that again. It's important to realize how much Rupert Spira actually profits from the concept of non-duality. Whoops. I don't need to scroll down. Sorry. Street cred. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I think I have all the love for Rupert if he wants to do this as an occupation for his career. I don't know how much profits and money he actually, you know, makes from talking about these subjects such as non-duality and peace and that sort of thing. I know he has a book that he came out with. Maybe this should be the smack talking non-duality live talk. Just kidding. I'm not talking smack. So, but I think Rupert has a book, and I should probably plug it just to be nice. But I know he has a new book, something about becoming me or something like that. Let me look it up. But he's read excerpts from it, so I know he's trying to, like, sell the book that he wrote. Which I got nothing for but love for that. If you I do this for free. It's pro bono here. I just talk about it and spend time. Time is money, and I talk about non-duality for no apparent reason. But I come to you as a way to commune on the topic and share ideas and, meet like-minded people, if you want to say that. But as far as making money, I'm not necessarily at this point looking to grow my YouTube channel talking about non-duality and making money off of advertisements. The chance of that happening are pretty slim to none. But even if that was the route I went, that'd be great. I could sit here and get paid for talking about something I'm already doing. So there's nothing wrong with making money. Not, practicing non-duality has nothing to do with not making money or making money. You have to make money to live, to survive as a human function. And so if you can do it talking about this, or if you can be um, anyone being supported by being a guru, then if people are willing to do that, it's fine. I think you know maybe it's different if you are trying to purposely deceive someone, but I think if you're being honest and they still want to support you, more power to you. All right, here we go. Okay, so he's got um where's his book thing? I know he read excerpts from his book. Let's see. Click on this. This is exciting stuff. This is like dead air on radio, where all you hear is just nothing. That's how you get viewers. Oh, here we go. Okay. Rupert reads from Being Myself, chapter 13. Okay, so his book's called Being Myself. So it's like I love it because that's what non-duality is all about, is pointing out the obvious, the what is. Um, so you write a book about being myself. It's like how hard is it to be yourself? You don't have to do anything to be yourself. You are what you are, whether you believe it or not. Let's see. Non-duality is a scam says that is the danger of to any guru or non-duality speaker. I'm not sure. I guess that was maybe a little bit ago. Darkness Man says, "Yeah, his style is very calming for sure. I like your voice too." Well, thank you very much. That's why I invested my hard-earned money into this professional microphone. It's from what is it from again? I don't know. It's Q2U, I know. Let me look it up. I should know it off the top of my head. But it's a Samsung Q2U recording mic. It's a dynamic microphone. So then I can provide better audio because I know that's, the video is pretty, you know, uneventful, but I'm kind of a big fan of when people at least put some effort into making their audio sound halfway decent, because that's what ultimately is important in a lot of ways, especially if you're listening versus watching. I'm just going to call you Scam because it's easier to say. So Scam says Rupert is catering to the need to feel good rather than exposing the dependence. That mic is legit. I am an audiophile. Yeah, it's I did a little YouTube video research before I got it, and that was kind of what I came down to, because there's the dynamic mics and then there's the what's the other style? Oh, condenser mic, which I think condenser mic is more set up for kind of the style that you see in like music studios and stuff like that, where it's good if you have control over your sound situation, but it picks up a lot of the ambient noise and stuff in the background. So, in my circumstances, I think it's just better than my crappy laptop mic, and it's better than that, and it gives me the opportunity to sound a little bit better and not pick up all the stuff that maybe is going on around me. Scam says, I think condenser mic is supposed to pick up the whole room. Yes, yeah. So obviously this is not a controlled area. The acoustics in here aren't the greatest. So I went with the dynamic mic that can plug directly into your laptop, computer, your MacBook, whatever you have, without having to go through like a sound amplifier or whatever, an additional unit, go directly into your computer. Why are we talking about that? We're talking about non-duality. This is probably, could be my most pointless non-duality video ever. So if you really wanted to learn about non-duality, maybe you came to the wrong place. Just kidding. We'll keep talking about non-duality. Let's see what else. Oh, I should read you. I did get I like reading your comments from the videos that I get, and I think the most triggering video that I put out, which I did it kind of purposefully, is my lies about non-duality. And I got a comment from Julie Wacholtz a day ago, or Juliet, sorry, not Julie, Juliet Wacholtz, on my lies about non-duality video. If you haven't seen that one, I think it's pretty good, but I don't remember exactly what I said. That was a while ago. Juliet says, to me, here we go, promoting the Enneagram. To me, you seem to be pushing around concepts about what you think non-duality is, like chess pieces on a game board. I hear some circular talk from you and some confusion. If your goal is to warn people about YouTube charlatans, great. But sounds to me like you have some concrete beliefs and are not comfortable being challenged. Best of luck. So I think what this is me talking. I think what Juliet's saying about me having concrete beliefs, like rigid beliefs, and so there's something I believe. So I asked her basically like to clarify what she meant by all that and give me specifics so I can at least address it. Um, and I'm not comfortable being challenged. I don't know where she came up with that idea, but I'm challenging her to challenge me to why she came to that conclusion based on the impression from that video. So there's that. Scam says, I just like authentic people. Uh, and I think he's referring to Juliet. LMAO, she was emotionally triggered. I will have to go back and look at that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most, instructive thing that you can look at when it comes to the topic of non-duality, because it is kind of like a blank canvas where um, it offers you the opportunity to place up on the altar what issues or triggers or situations that maybe you're dealing with by, it's kind of like the therapy method of like talk therapy method of, oh boy, this is bringing me back to college, but I don't remember what the name of it is, so it's probably bad to bring it up. But it's kind of the style where you just basically sit there and listen. You're just trying to be actively listening and engaging empathetically with the other person that you're in there with. So it's part of the process of um, personal development or change is brought through being, deeply heard or understood, I guess, something like that. And this is speaking from the outside looking in, so I'm not an expert on it, but it's kind of the same thing of non-duality, where it gives you the chance to kind of shine a spotlight on those things that you're dealing with, and if you're attentive to that, it can maybe be instructive in that sense. Scam says these situations are how we learn. We are mirrors. Yeah, exactly. And that's why there are no experts on non-duality necessarily. There's people that can speak more clearly to what the concept is trying to say or connect with others or tell better stories. But at the end of the day, your response to the speaker, the messenger, or the message, either one, is telling of the situation that you're currently seeing, and the rose color, these the rose colored glasses, or um, the biases, whatever. It's a way to be able to see that. And so when you have this moment of looking at this guy Russ Rapp and saying one way or the other how your impression of me, that can be helpful into understanding your own situation and understand how you are perceiving the world and be able to question whether that's true or not. Scam says the hidden parts of our mind need to be shared, need to be shined on. Yes. I would say they don't need to be shined on, but they can be shined on. I mean, that's part of, shadow work, or understanding your essence, if you will, is to see how you define yourself in relation to others or the world around you, and how you may be telling yourself in the moment something that's not necessarily true. And so when you look at yourself in a certain way, or if you judge another person, you're missing the points when you are the same way, and that sort of thing. That's where I think, people have been recently addressing the situation in the other country with the guy from that other country who's doing something over there and doing things that people don't like. It's comparing that national leader to maybe a peace leader in another form. I'm speaking. I'm speaking in code. No, just kidding. Um, but it's like comparing a bad person to a good person and saying non-duality is saying you are both this, and in a sense that's true in a way where um, we project onto others how we are, um, how we perceive things, or the parts of ourselves that we try to deny. Which is, part of dealing with life and defense mechanisms of the human, which can be beneficial as well as a hindrance. Scam says if one doesn't look at those hidden parts, they will react unconsciously to others. It's where conflict and violence starts. Yes, I would agree to that. However, I think when it comes to non-duality as a topic, there's a need. I think when people come at this subject from the standpoint of change or development, then there seems to be work that needs to be done where it's I should talk to the camera. Like last video, I made an effort to talk to the little black dot versus your chats or looking around the room. So when it comes to this idea of non-duality and seeing, we're all one, kumbaya, then it becomes a matter of personal development or working on oneself and changing things, and that becomes the focus, which is just another method or practice versus the what non-duality is trying to say. So if we are, it's kind of like so if we have conflict or violence, that's what appears to be happening. And the way to address that from a non-dual speaker perspective is to say, well, there is no person. Okay, well, someone punches you in the face, there's going to be another person punching you in the face, and you're going to react to that. It's not going to be this, well, there is no other person punching me. It's and there's no one being punched. Punching is happening. You're going to deal with it as a human being. which is fine. And so there's no need when it comes to non-duality to avoid violence or conflict. It's just what happens. But um so there's this, like, you know a natural tendency for people to say, okay, I hear what you're saying about non-duality, but what do you deal with this situation? What about violence? What about all this negative things? How do you wrap your head around that? How do you deal with things that are negative? And non-duality isn't making a judgment on anything. So if there is a judgment being made, judgment is happening. It's kind of like the same idea of, um, we're open. We're an inclusive, non-judgmental. We are um, tolerant. All those buzzwords of how we should be as human beings, and yet we are intolerant towards people we don't agree, or we're not tolerant towards people who we perceive as being intolerant. And so in a sense we are just as intolerant, but you could sit and write that off and say, well, yeah, but we're the good guys, they're the bad guys, so it's okay. But both sides are being intolerant, essentially. Scam says actual need versus compulsion. If there's an actual problem, there's an actual need. If there is an illusory problem, there is an unhealthy compulsion. Yeah, I think, that goes to how we operate as people and how our mind works. And whether or not we are dealing with the situation that's in the 3D world in the moment versus some conceptualized abstract idea, whether it's something in the past that we're trying to focus on or something in the future we're trying to avoid or achieve, then we're not dealing with the present moment. I think there is always essentially the present moment, whether we believe it or not. And that's, I think, can be helpful when people get into non-duality and what we're discussing here. It's the focus becomes an attack on the mind, or to quiet the mind, or to let go of the mind, to let go of thoughts, which is can be beneficial, but at the same time, it's the mind trying to get rid of itself. It's the separation trying to be less separate by being more separate. So if we are in the situation where I saw this video of this one gentleman, I don't know where it came up, but he had um, what was it? Catatonic schizophrenia or something like that. So he's being interviewed by a therapist, and I won't get into it all, but um, even if we're in a situation of schizophrenia or bipolar, or anything like that's seemingly abnormal from the consensus of the group, that changes nothing when it comes to non-duality. And so even if there is a problem that isn't based in the actual real world, if hallucinations are taking place, or there's a disconnect from what we would consider reality, um, it changes nothing about what non-duality is saying. So from a individual standpoint, the need to fix yourself or to stop obsessively, compulsively reacting towards life, there's no need for that. The need doesn't come from the statement of what is, although the need may exist. It's part of what non-duality is pointing to. Scam says psychologically, there's no choice or judgment, but as a human operating in the world, there must be judgment. During the moment of perception, there is no judgment about what you see, because if you judge at that point, you will turn away from the facts. I'm not sure I understand that, I guess. I do find it interesting that I'll talk into the camera. I like to point out the fact that this is a contrived conversation where I'm not talking directly to you, because I'm talking in a room by myself with my dog, and there's a camera, a black dot, and that's why, if you look at other commercials or videos where people are talking to a camera, most of the time we suspend disbelief, and we don't even realize we're subconsciously connecting with that as a human being, to that other person, thinking that they're actually talking to us directly. And so, part of me being, having a communications background and advertising, that sort of thing, and seeing commercials, uh, obviously throughout my life, it's can be difficult to. I mean, it's like once you see the trick, it's hard to not see it. And so when you see what commercials, advertisements are doing, it's hard to not have the analytical mind interrupt the subconscious transmission that is going on, which can be a beneficial thing. But as far as overthinking, it maybe isn't as helpful. But When it comes to seeing a commercial or watching a video where someone is talking directly into the camera, there's this perception that they're talking to you that you may not even be realizing that you believe in the moment. And so the wool is pulled over your eyes to believe that they're actually talking to you directly, which in this situation, I'm talking to a laptop with a camera on it, and there's chat with words that people are typing somewhere else in the world that are coming up relatively live time. But that's the crux of it. But if I don't talk into the little black dot, then you think I'm talking to something else or someone else, and there's not you lose the connection. And that's kind of what non-duality is trying to point at, is the contrived nature of perception. And so we think one thing is happening, but that's not really what's happening. And so you question your beliefs when it comes to what you're seeing. But as far as what non-duality is a scam is saying about turning away from the facts, I think that's pretty apparent in general, where I feel like the last few years there's been a split reality that's taken place of, and it's probably not as clear cut or simple. I'm sure there's a lot of gray areas, but it seems like we're still living in kind of two different worlds, two different realities of belief systems, worldviews that are just, it's interesting to see. I think facts and truth are inherently um, apparent, and sometimes it's just a matter of time for the truth or the facts to present themselves as real. So it's a matter of the waiting game, or sometimes things happen in history where the truth is never revealed in the moment. But the truth of the matter of what is always apparent, is always available, whether you want to believe it or not, and takes no time to see it. But when it comes to facts or information, sometimes those are eternally hidden, but the ramifications of that is always apparent. So even if no one sees you do something negative, you're the only one that knows, you're still going to have a response to that psychologically or personally, whether or not um, it'll go down in history as being a factual situation. I'm being a little vague there, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. But non-duality isn't about proving something absolutely, or um, I mean, you talk about big T truth versus little T truth. Like as people, there are things that we try to understand, like the sky is blue, and we try to scientifically explain why the sky is blue, and that's a relational type of discussion as to, even looking at history, whose perspective, what information, what happened. There's one thing that's truer than something else, or there's things that are complete bold-faced lies about things that have gone on, or misrepresentations. So there's always an objective truth when it comes to the material world, or what we experience as human beings. But when it comes to the unprovable, non-dual element or aspect of reality, there's no science that can prove it. You can point to it and say, hey, look at this, we're all empty space, so therefore there's no concrete, so therefore we're just energy, and blah blah blah. Non-duality must be true. but there's nothing that we can empirically or logically, systematically say that non-duality as a thing is true, because it's coming from the perspective of something that cannot witness non-duality. There's no way to not see duality, essentially. So you can only infer or suppose or assume there is no person, or that non-duality is true. There's no way of proving it. You can experience elements of what non-duality is uh, proposing. You can have a sense of losing your identity, whether periodically or for longer periods of time. However, that doesn't prove anything, because other people that don't have that experience won't agree or believe. So it's not a matter of belief. Scam says, "For me, I am an explorer pioneer, and I'm just always pushing my boundaries because I want to understand." Yeah, I think that's the beauty of non-duality, of as a concept, is that it can potentially help um, give you the courage to take those steps that you may otherwise not want to approach, because of the attachment to the ego or the separate self. I mean, because that's what we're talking about essentially, is pointing to the falseness of identification of the ego. I want to take Scam says, "I want to take learning to the absolute limit." Yeah, I think being open to what presents itself. It's like the lady Juliet said, that I obviously have some concrete beliefs. Of course, I have beliefs. Like, that's how you operate and function as a healthy individual in society, is to have some sort of belief system or identification and that sort of thing, because there's a way to make judgments of what you perceive, or what is seen to be real. And when you see that for what it is, and you're able to judge it accordingly, not in the moralistic judging, but just to, from an observational standpoint, saying this is true or this is not true. And therefore you're able to, see when people are maybe being less than honest, because you have the basis to go from. It's not like you're um it's not like you're totally lost, and that there's nothing that you are. I mean, the ground of non-duality is emptiness, is nothing, but there's still plenty of things to hold on to as an individual. So when it comes to learning, what I'm trying to say is, there's plenty of things to learn, and I think being open to other perspectives and other information is key in that growth process. But it's not necessary from a non-dual perspective, but to grow and to learn, and to be more truthful and honest and open with others and with yourself. There needs to be an openness to experience, or a free mind, or a free thinking kind of perspective. Scam says, oh, hold on. Martin Peniak says, good to see you, Ross. It's Russ. And good to see you. Non-duality is a scam. Scam says, fear, attachment, those get in the way of learning. Scam says, have a great day, Martin. Scam says, we have to be open to the possibility that Juliet could be correct and conduct a proper investigation. Yeah, or we don't have to. One or the other. We can. Yeah, that's okay. We can investigate, we can question, or we can not question and not investigate. And sometimes um, there is a level of, like the bubble that you put yourself in, that you allow yourself to consider the reality that you are able to perceive. It's like, as human beings, there's certain temperatures that we can live within. We can't live on other planets without, protective equipment, let's say, because if it gets too hot or too cold, we aren't able to function and we will not survive. So it's kind of like our personal ego structures. There's boundaries to that, and boundaries aren't necessarily a bad thing because they help protect us from basically losing our minds or having a negative response to situations that we can't cope with. So the coping mechanisms, defense mechanisms, can be beneficial, but they can also be a hindrance to growth, to understanding. And so, understanding that, then we can have a little bit more compassion towards others when it comes to seeing them in their own little bubble of confusion and illusion. Scam says, I use words like need and have. No disrespect intended. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Well, I'm going to actually wrap it up here. Thanks for meandering today with me with my lack of direction of the conversation, but thanks for participating in the comments to help direct what we say. That always makes it more interesting. But I did want to read from the Bible at the end here. It's actually the last book of the Old Testament. I wanted to see, I read it here last night, what the last book and last chapter says in the Bible, and I thought it was something that I wanted to present here in this video. It is Malachi chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. The day of the Lord, chapter 4, verses 1 through 6, Malachi. Surely the day is coming. It will burn like a furnace. All the arrogant and every evildoer will be stubble, and that day that is coming will set them on fire, says the Lord Almighty. Not a root or a branch will be left to them. But for you who revere my name, the Sun of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, and you will go out and leap like calves released from the stall. Then you will trample down the wicked. They will be ashes under the soles of your feet on the day when I do these things, says the Lord Almighty. Remember the law of my servant Moses, the decrees and laws I gave him at Horeb for all Israel. See, I will send you a prophet Elijah before that great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers, or else I will come and strike the land with a curse. All right. Martin says, thank you guys. You have a great day. Next time I'd love to get notifications somehow, because today and also last time I came across this by accident. Yeah, well, I didn't schedule that. I scheduled this morning, so it wasn't a huge didn't give you a big notice, but that's on me. That's how I am at this point. So I'll try maybe or maybe not. If I usually it's just okay, I'm going to do it today, and so there's not a lot of forethought exactly as to when I'm going to do it. But hopefully next time you'll be able to jump on right away, Martin. And thanks for coming on today. Non-Duality Scam says always a pleasure. All right, well, thank you, and God bless.